In the winter of 1940, something strange happened in Nazi-occupied Europe. It wasn't a battle. It wasn't a speech. It wasn't even a victory march. It was an operation, to move a dead man. Deep in the quiet countryside of the Netherlands, German soldiers arrived at a secluded estate in Doorn. Their target was not a weapon. Not gold. Not intelligence. It was a coffin. Inside lay the remains of a man who had once ruled an empire that stretched across continents. Kaiser Wilhelm II. The last German emperor. A man who had shaped Europe, and then lost everything. But even in death, his story was not finished. To understand why Nazi Germany cared about a buried emperor, we must go back decades. Before Hitler. Before the Second World War. Before Europe collapsed again. Wilhelm II had once been one of the most powerful men in the world. He ruled the German Empire with pride, ambition, and a belief that Germany deserved to dominate Europe. He expanded the military, challenged Britain's naval power, and pushed Europe into rising tension. Then came World War I. And everything collapsed. By 1918, Germany was defeated. The empire was shattered. The monarchy was abolished. And the Kaiser, once the symbol of German power, was forced to abdicate. Just like that, Wilhelm II went from emperor to exile. He fled across the border into the Netherlands. A broken ruler. Living quietly in a foreign country that agreed to protect him. No palace. No army. No empire. Only silence. Years passed. The world moved on. Germany struggled through chaos, humiliation, and economic collapse. And in that chaos, a new figure rose. Adolf Hitler. To Hitler, Germany's past was not something to forget. It was something to reuse. And in that past, one figure stood out, Wilhelm II. Not because Hitler admired him fully, but because he understood something powerful. Symbols control people more than truth does. By the time World War II began, Hitler had already reshaped Germany into a dictatorship. But he still wanted legitimacy. He wanted the Nazi regime to feel like the next chapter of German greatness, not something new, but something inherited. And Wilhelm II's legacy was useful for that illusion. Even though the Kaiser had criticized Hitler privately and lived in exile, his name still carried weight. So Hitler made a decision. A strange, symbolic, and secret order. Bring the Kaiser's coffin back to Germany. In 1940, German forces occupied the Netherlands. And soon after, soldiers arrived at Doorn. There was no public announcement. No ceremony. Just silence and military control. Locals watched from a distance as Nazi officers entered the burial site of the former emperor. The coffin was located and carefully prepared for transport. But this was not a respectful royal transfer. It was an operation. Cold. Controlled. Political. When the coffin was lifted, there were no royal honors. No imperial flags. No traditional German monarchy tribute. Only Nazi soldiers carrying out orders under a regime that wanted to rewrite history. The coffin of Wilhelm II was sealed and transported away from its resting place. For a moment, it seemed Hitler had succeeded. It looked like the Kaiser would finally return to German soil. But what happened next changed everything. Because Wilhelm II's family and loyal supporters were not willing to let his death become propaganda. They understood what Hitler was doing. This was not honor. It was manipulation. So instead of allowing a public political burial in Germany, they intervened quietly. The coffin was redirected, kept out of Nazi ceremonies and removed from public display. It was eventually placed in a hidden chapel on the estate grounds in Doorn, away from public attention. Out of Hitler's reach. Out of propaganda control. And there it stayed. As Europe burned in war. As cities were destroyed. As millions died. The coffin of a fallen emperor remained in quiet obscurity. A strange contrast. While the world was collapsing, one former ruler rested in silence, untouched by the chaos being fought in his name. In 1945, everything changed again. Germany was defeated. Hitler was dead. The Nazi regime collapsed into ruins. And the idea of a revived German empire, twisted through propaganda, was gone. After the war, the Kaisers' remains remained in the Netherlands. Not returned as a symbol of imperial glory. Not used as political fuel. But left in peace. A quiet ending to a story filled with power, pride, and propaganda. Today, Wilhelm II still rests in Dorn. His grave is simple. Unassuming. Far from the empire he once ruled. Visitors often expect something grand, something that reflects his former power. But instead, they find stillness. No empire. No soldiers. No throne. Just a reminder that even the most powerful rulers in history eventually become part of the past they cannot control. Because in the end, history doesn't serve rulers. It remembers them, on its own terms. And even a Kaiser cannot escape the silence of time.